Well, that was the way it was back then. I mean, there was no such thing as planning permission. If you wanted to live somewhere, you just went out and you built it. I lived in a pineapple under the sea. And I was telling my grandson, wee Shane, the other day, and he says, Grandad, it's not impossible. And I says, no. I says, there was no such thing as impossible back then. You just got out and you worked. And that's what I did. I got a job with Eugene the Cope Krabs. I knew him as Mr. Krabs. And I'd be serving burgers and all chips and things like that to everybody who lived in Bikini Bottom. And it did so well, that kind of place. He opened another one right beside it. And they interviewed him on the news. And they said, what'd you do that for? He says, well, I love money. He says, I want loads of money. And I worked with a man called Squidward. And he was a Protestant man, but we were the best of friends. But by God, he was crabbed as a bag of cats. He was an old grump. And he'd be big into the flutes and the oboes and things like that. And he lived right beside me, you know. And he was always complaining about the noise. He lived in a big stone head. And he'd always be saying, SpongeBob, will you ever cop yourself on? But we got on very well. You know, it didn't matter what he was or what I was. We served everybody in there. I mean, we had mermaids, we had crustaceans, we had blowfish. We had all sorts of stuff. And Mr. Krabs himself, his daughter was a whale for some reason. And then there's this other fella down the road, and he had one eye in his head, and he was 6 inches tall. And he was married to a computer called Karen. And himself and Mr. Krabs didn't get on at all, but sure, that was, I didn't know what was going on there. Nobody put their nose in anyone else's business. And that's how they were with me and Patrick, you know. And I knew him as my neighbour first. He was living down the road from me, but we loved all the same things. And we go jellyfishing all the time. We go get ice cream, and we like the same music, all that kind of stuff. And then we started living together, and, you know, I was with him for a long time. But, you know, it was great in some ways under the sea, but in other ways it wasn't. We still had a king down there, so there's certain things you couldn't do. But then I heard on the surface that everybody was getting married. Everybody could get married in 2015. So when I heard that, I ran home to tell Patrick. But I saw him in the window, and he was getting old and a bit slow. So I didn't see anything. And I was afraid if we went up to the surface, he'd dry up. There was one day he was lying on the bed towards the end, and he turned over to me and he says, SpongeBob, I'm sorry I was never your husband. And I says, Patrick, what else were you? You looked after me. You made me feel safe. We went on all kinds of adventures, you and me. I didn't need any piece of paper to tell me that I was his and he was mine. But you know, I don't go back there very often anymore. The house is gone now. It was a pineapple and rotted away, but he's buried down there. But he's always with me, you know. So if ever I feel lonely, I'll put on the music, and it's like he's right there with me.
Oh, I'm a goofy goober, yeah. You're a goofy goober, yeah. We're all goofy goobers, yeah.
Anyway, your mammy brought soup. Do you want some soup?